This is Tetris. And this, and also this. Okay, I think you get the point. Most people have heard of Tetris, but what is it really? Tetris has been one of the most popular and influential games of all time since its release. It has helped to popularize gaming worldwide and pave the way for modern gaming. The first Tetris was released in 1984, and since then it has become one of the most popular games of all time. But how does it work? What's on screen now is Tetris for the NES, or Nintendo Entertainment System. Not quite the original, but one of the first Tetris to become popularized worldwide. The original Tetris is a puzzle game, where pieces called tetrominoes fall from the top of the screen. The player can rotate the pieces and make them fall faster, and there are 7 different types of tetrominoes, all made of 4 connected squares, each named after their shapes. When a tetromino touches the ground, it becomes locked after a short period of time, and another random piece starts dropping. If you fill in a row, it clears and you get points. You can clear multiple lines at once, and the names for each of the line clears are singles, doubles, triples, and Tetrises, but for the purposes of this video, we'll just call them quads. After a number of lines have been cleared, the level will eventually increase and the pieces will fall faster, making the game more difficult, but the points gained also higher. The player loses when the tetromino reaches the top of the screen, and the goal is to get as many points as possible before topping out. While it seems complex in theory, in practice, it's quite simple and fun, and the mechanics are pretty intuitive. Due to its popularity, there have been many forms of Tetris made. Yet surprisingly, one of the most popular forms of Tetris turns out to be PvP, or player versus player. Now you may wonder, how in the world can Tetris be PvP? It's a puzzle game. How are people going to fight? And before we get into that, we'll first have to discuss the changes in modern Tetris. In modern Tetris, there are the same 7 different types of tetrominoes, or pieces, that are assigned a letter by their respective shapes: T, Z, S, O, L, J, and I. However, Tetris nowadays uses what's called a 7-bag system for randomizing their pieces. The game generates a unique bag of 7 tetrominoes, sends it at the player one by one, and then repeats. This way, modern Tetris games never send the same tetrominoes over and over, because you can die a lot of times due to bad luck or inconsistent pieces. Instead, the game becomes less unfairly luck-based and instead more fun due to its higher consistency and reliability. Modern Tetris games also follow a specified rotation system called the Super Rotation System, or Standard Rotation System. The Super Rotation System, or SRS, is a standard rotation system across all modern Tetris titles, which I'll put up on screen now for those who are interested. Explaining it in depth is a little outside the scope of this video, but just know that it allows players to rotate blocks in a lot of cool and wacky ways. For example, you can make some weird spins like this, and there's a lot of things you can do with it. So finally, how does PvP work? The difference between PvP and normal Tetris is that rather than gaining points, lines are sent to the opposing player when you clear lines. What makes modern Tetris complex is that it rewards certain more difficult actions like quads. Clearing 4 lines at once will send 4 lines to the opponent compared to 0 for a single, 1 for a double, and 2 for a triple. But Tetris also awards something called a T-spin. T-spins are where you rotate a T-block under an overhang, and they send double the lines that are cleared. So a T-spin that clears 2 lines, for example, will send 4 lines to the opponent, the same as a quad. In this way, T-spins are much more efficient than Tetrises, as you can send double the lines for clearing the same amount of space. To balance line sending out, the game also has the opposite. When lines are sent, they aren't put in immediately, but rather buffered. Due to this, if one player sends a Tetris and the other person does the same, the lines will cancel rather than both being sent. That's the basics for PvP. Now I'll hand it over to Kevin for the strategy.
There are a lot of strategies people use to maximize Tetris efficiency. A common strategy is using what is known as back-to-back. Back-to-back refers to continuous T-spins or quads without sending other forms of lines like triples, doubles, or singles. As you can see, garnering a long back-to-back chain will add more value to each consecutive T-spin or quad, until a single T-spin or quad could send 8 lines. Chaining back-to-backs will allow you to be much more efficient because each line that you clear with a back-to-back chain will have more value than without it. Modern Tetris games often reward combos, that is, clearing lines continuously where each block you place clears one line or more. Some players use this mechanic to gain higher efficiency over their enemy, because with a high combo, each consecutive line cleared will have much more value than without a combo. Players are also able to use this mechanic with certain setups, like 4-wide. In 4-wide, you leave a 4-wide empty column and you send blocks into it, eventually gaining a very high combo easily. The problem with combo play is that in order to effectively use a combo, you need to have a very long combo and clear lots of lines. To clear lots of lines, you need to stack very high. It's a significant time commitment, and it could be too risky. But if done well, it is devastating to your opponent. When you combo a T-spin and a quad together, it'll send lots of lines at once. This is called a spike. It will send more lines than if you were to do them separately. For example, a common setup is to put a T-spin on top of a well. When you get a T block and an I block, you can send a quick 10 lines if you combo them together. But without spiking, the T-spin and the quad will only send 8. Incorporating spikes into your gameplay makes you much more efficient because now you're adding more value and clearing the same amount of lines. In modern Tetris, since the 7-bag system makes pieces not completely random, players can memorize and execute certain openers to send a lot of lines at the start. Here's some examples. TKI opener is a T-spin double opener that can send a quick T-spin and is able to easily transition into other T-spin setups. With TKI opener, you can easily send up to 3 T-spins with just memorization alone, and with improvisation you can send a lot more. It's a really flexible opener that many professionals use as a defensive maneuver that can easily transition into an offensive one. Here's an offensive opener. Perfect Clear Opener, or PCO, sends a perfect clear, which is equivalent to sending 10 lines, and leaves your board clear and flexible. 10 lines to your opponent is half their board, so a PCO is really effective for highly aggressive play. However, it could be too aggressive for your own good, because the 10 lines that you send could be easily turned into a counter spike against yourself. Finally, here's one of the most aggressive openers. Single Double Perfect Clear, or SDPC, is a long chain of events that sends a single T-spin, a double T-spin, and a perfect clear. That's a lot of lines if done well, and it leaves your board clear at the end. It could easily single-handedly top the enemy if the enemy does not react in time. But since it's such a long chain, the enemy could react and counter-spike you if they're paying attention and know that you're doing a single double perfect clear.
Finally, we'll show you some recordings of professional players and the top players so you can get a reference for how good they are too, because they're crazy.
All right, let's find out Fonzie versus Castle Top. Who wins, right? Okay.
You're waiting quite a bit there.
Oh, Vince under pressure, barely staying in this. Does CZ have enough left? He does, evening things out here. 8-7.
You get closer, definitely proving why CZ's definitely the favorite here.
PC looking for the second. Gonna get it. Looking for a third. No, not looking for a third. Yes, looking for a third. Game is wild sometimes, truly. Nice TSD find here from Vince. Good pass through, honestly. He's gonna really big benefit. Able to get a big spike out here.
has 504 hours. Hey Kevin,
Yeah.
just for reference, I'm allowed to put your pictures in the thing, right?
Yeah, sure.